I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And this is our friend Mouse. Today, oh, go ahead, say hi.
Hi.
Mouse is here to help us review our 209th episode at VIMTV, Belle and Sebastian's recent release, Belle and Sebastian Write About Love. This is Belle and Sebastian's 7th album?
Somewhere around there.
They've been,
we don't know.
You know, they've been literally defining what the indie pop scene is for about 15 years now. And Mouse is a huge fan of Belle and Sebastian, and she and Tom host a radio show together here in Ames. And I got to meet Mouse a few weeks ago, and we talked a lot about this album.
Yeah.
So, this album is pretty much like every other Belle and Sebastian album you've ever heard. It's good, there's some really good songwriting, good production, but it's not, you know, incredible. It's just really good. What do you think?
Basic modern lounge music is what they've been making, like, since they started out. I mean, it's very simple, three chord changes, maybe a flute and a trumpet thrown in there with a little bit of female vocals.
Right.
Very simple, now albeit not, I'm not saying it's not creative lyrics.
Right.
It's very, very simple, relatable love songs.
Well, right, and one thing that we talked about is how superfluous, or if that's...
Superfluous?
Superfluous? They're very wordy. And I mean, it's almost hard to take in, because you really have to dissect, you know, what, and pay very close attention to the lyrics if you're actually going to follow what a lot of these songs are about. But sometimes I think that it can really add to the music, and sometimes I think it makes it go a little over the top. But that's just me.
Sometimes they have, especially with Boy with the Arab Strap, one of their earlier albums, they try to be witty. Like, because Arab Strap is a band in Glasgow that they kind of grew with when they were first getting started, and that band's decent. I mean, it sounds like Belle and Sebastian, but a bit more rough. So they try to be witty with some of the stuff they say, but not everybody gets it. So sometimes you're kind of like...
Just kind of...
not quite appreciated. Like, if you get what they're talking about, the song's great, but most of the time you don't.
And that's kind of
nice.
And that's kind of interesting, because with their sound, which is such a universally appealing indie pop sound, to kind of narrow to narrow what field of people can appreciate it is kind of interesting, and there's kind of a duality there, I would say.
So Mouse, one thing that I figured out, or I noticed in Write About Love, was that there was a lot of both jazz, which has always been there, and then some disco-y elements there. I mean, we briefly talked earlier about how there's, you know, some background electronics in there.
Especially in some of the bass lines.
Yeah, but like track 4, I Want the World to Stop, definitely has kind of a disco feel to it. Would you say that that's more of a newer aspect to their music? Because it's not something that I've ever noticed before, but maybe I just overlooked it.
You didn't overlook it. It never really has been there. They do this experiment with some of their albums. They add something small, and they try it out, and a lot of the times it doesn't work. So you'll see it in 1 or 2 tracks, and then I'm guessing the producer said, "Don't do that."
And that's a good point, because it's not like a deep end dive into that sound. It's just kind of they're dipping their toes into that.
So it's not like the Apples in Stereo.
Yeah.
Make a whole
they're
concept
just like,
album.
Yeah, they're just like, if we're going to do something, we're going to make it big. But Belle and Sebastian is much more subtle about it. That's for damn sure. One thing that I really like, you mentioned the female vocals, and I really appreciate that, and how they come in and kind of offset the lead vocalist's vocals, because he's a good singer. But just, for me, it's the same kind of thing with him as it is with, like, the Decemberists, the Shins, a lot of those other bands, is that the voices, now you want them to be unique, but there's something about the quality of it that gets to me if I listen to it for extended periods of time. And, you know, I doubt that they even did that with that intention in mind, because they're not trying to cater to people who, like me, who are going to be skeptical and kind of about it from the beginning. But for someone like me who's like that, it helped. It helped to have it kind of offset, you know, so you don't have big chunks of him singing at a time. It really helped the album move along.
Two things that I loved about this album, and I think this is part and parcel with every Belle and Sebastian release, but there's just absolutely fantastic production. For indie music, I don't think you're gonna find many other bands that can produce their music on this high of a level. And on top of that, just great songwriting. I think you're not going to see the same song structures repeated throughout this. They do a lot of really cool, you mentioned the jazz, and we've talked about the disco influences, but there's just so many guitars and different things that the guy does. Like they one of my track picks, Calculating Bimbo, track 3, they use rests, and I think that's such a powerful thing and something that's overlooked in music today. Like I really appreciated that.
That's one of the reasons why Belle and Sebastian is one of my favorite bands, and I speak that they're not that outlandish or creative because I do listen to stuff like Sigur Rós.
Absolutely.
Things that'll just kick your ass when you listen to it for the first time. But with Belle and Sebastian, it didn't. But I started listening to them when I was really young.
Right.
And it's part loyalty and part appreciation of that very simple lyric structure where you can relate to everything that they're saying.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you don't want that really hard-nosed Tom Waits smoking in there. Because I love Tom Waits, or the Pogues, like we were talking about. In-your-face lyrics, very, very strong. With this, you don't get that, and I appreciate it.
And there's something to be said about someone who can execute that simple sound well and still have it be original and fresh and alluring in a way. Because anyone can water down and over-convolute their sound, but these guys don't have to, and they've been doing it for 15 years, and they're still relevant. And that's, right there, that just shows good songwriting, shows a good sound. One thing I wanted to mention real quick, I actually really like that they just blatantly titled this album Belle and Sebastian, Write About Love.
Yeah, good call.
Because they're doing exactly that. They're talking about love throughout this whole album. And to me, the fact that they just come out and say it right with the title makes it a little less sappy, makes it a little more digestible. And I really appreciated that from them, that they're not trying to, say there's something like, yeah, we're going to write a bunch of pop songs about love. What are you going to do about it?
It pretty much rocks.
Yeah.
It's a good time. One thing that that did kind of bother me is that I felt like there was a group of songs in this album, not grouped together, but just, you could collectively pick them out, that are more serious in nature, and it's Belle and Sebastian, taking the song material very seriously. And there's some others that are the typical more frivolous and fun Belle and Sebastian, and mixing the two together, and they've done this before, this is not something new, but mixing the two together pretty much, to me, prevents the album from ever being anything more than solid. If they want to really make, like, the best indie pop album of the year, they're really going to have to lean to one side or the other to actually, execute that sort of scope of an album, where this just doesn't have it. It's exactly what Tom says. It's just a good collection, a grab bag of 11 tracks of just really high-quality indie pop songs that are about love. I mean, you can't really ask for much more. But at the same time, we're not, don't be surprised if this isn't getting, 85 or 90 from us, because it doesn't offer that, we feel. What do you think?
Well, it didn't progress at all. With me, the thing with Belle and Sebastian fans, and I know this is my case and a lot of friends that I have that listen to Belle and Sebastian, there are rarely now, at least in the last 2 or 3 albums, there are rarely new Belle and Sebastian fans.
Right.
The people who love these albums and who listen to them and buy them the day of release are people who've been listening to them as long as I have.
Good call. So by this time, they're just kind of catering to their fan base that they're established.
They're trying to keep their fan base around rather than drawing new crowds into it.
Right.
And while I respect them, I kind of know the story behind how they were kind of pushed into the limelight in the Glasgow indie scene. And they were very manufactured in the beginning by the record company. And while it does produce some great music that I love, they're not, I guess, as...
Right.
I don't know how to...
Well, they don't have that, they can't take their ideas and really run with them. They have to always cater to something. And that
goes into the production thing. Yes, they have great production, but they think about it so tediously.
Right. Yeah.
It's a little safe.
Yeah.
So
Belle and Sebastian's always been safe.
Yeah. And that's something that could be really cool if they ever jumped out of that. I doubt they will. But until then, they're going to make good indie pop music. So you can't
reliable indie pop.
That's right.
Reliable, great way to
they're
put it.
They're the bread and butter of indie pop.
Yeah.
They're my reliable band. I can always count that they're going to sound the same.
Reliant BNS. Tom, what are you giving this thing?
I'm going to give it a 73.
73?
Yeah.
I'm feeling a 76. I feel like this is totally solid. It's just a good album.
Pick a few tracks real quick.
Yeah, sure. Track 3, Calculating Bimbo. I love that track. Track 4, I Want the World to Stop, and the last track, track 11, Sunday's Pretty Icons.
I'm gonna go track 1. I didn't see it coming. Track 4, I Want the World to Stop. Great bass line. And then also track 7, I'm Not Living in the Real World. Good little upbeat kind of rockin' song.
Yep.
Any particular ones that you liked?
When I bought this album, when I heard the first song, I was really, really excited because it was somewhat different.
Right.
But then, like we were talking about before we started, was that the first 5, 6 songs are, and then it kind of goes downhill. Back to Your Reliable Belle and Sebastian. So 1, 2, Come On Sister, I really like. And then the 9th song, Read the Blessed Pages. I just think it's a short song. It's like 2.5 minutes, but it's a really sweet song.
It's very effective.
And I'm going to be
flutes.
Yeah, man! I was a flute player.
Oh, there you go, you flautist.
Damn straight.
No, it's a cool little trick that they do. But that's one of the things I like about this album is they throw little
surprises.
Little Easter eggs.
Not enough to be significantly different,
right?
Or significantly progressive,
right?
But they do throw in little surprises.
Well, I think that kind of covers Belle and Sebastian's Right About Love.
About as much as you can say about it.
Any parting thoughts, guys?
No.
All right. Well, that covers it. Tell us what you guys think at www.vimtv or down there if you're watching this at YouTube. And leave us a comment. Do you like this? Do you think this is a staple release for them? Do you think that this does constitute a big change? Let us know and why. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And this is Mouse. We are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.